Hey, good evening. Welcome to the Who's Left Podcast, a show about Indiana politics, history, and culture from an unapologetically leftist perspective. My name is Scott Aaron Rogers, and I'm broadcasting from Bloomington. Sorry about the delay. We're about 10 minutes late getting started tonight. I'm glad you're hanging with me. Of you who are viewing, those of you who are listening, never mind. Nothing to see here. Anyway, let's get started. Last month, the Democratic Legislative Campaign Committee, a national campaign organization that targets vulnerable Republican held legislative seats, announced an investment in 11 Indiana state House races in an effort to break the GOP supermajority. Quoting from a WFYI write up of the announcement, the DLCC assists candidates by providing partnerships, research, voter information, and polls. For those candidates, this kind of institutional support is a godsend, but no such effort exists on the Senate side, where the districts are even more gerrymandered and Democrats face an even more difficult task. In fact, Republicans spent millions of dollars on Indiana state Senate seats during their primary alone, where Trump endorsed far right MAGA candidates ousted 7 incumbents who voted against the congressional redistricting gambit pushed by the president last year. 2 others retired rather than face the onslaught. One of those who chose not to run for re-election was Eric Bassler in Senate District 39. The large, mostly rural district consists of Greene, Knox, Davies, Martin, and parts of Sullivan and Owen counties, and former GOP State Rep Jeff Ellington, with Trump's endorsement, won a 3-way primary. He was set to face Vincennes resident Joseph Baughman in November. Baughman is a Democratic socialist and Christian, but faced headwinds in his campaign, including difficulty fundraising and lack of the aforementioned institutional support. He announced last week that he is withdrawing from the race, leaving Democrats scrambling to find a candidate by the July 6th deadline. This was not an easy decision or one made lightly, and Baughman is my guest tonight. Now, before I welcome him to the show, let me quickly ask you to support our institution. This is an independent media project. We don't paywall content. We don't charge candidates for interviews, and we certainly don't have billionaire benefactors. Only individuals like you keep this thing going. It is a foundational principle of Who's Left and the Progressive Indiana Network that we refuse to hide important information behind paywalls in the middle of a political crisis, even to our financial detriment. So please, if you find value in this work, go to progressiveindiana.net and subscribe at the paid level. It's only $5 a month or $50 a year to help us build the infrastructure that will pop the right-wing media bubble in this state. And while a paid subscription is the best way to help us grow and sustain this project, you can help in other ways by liking and sharing on social media, commenting, leaving reviews, providing feedback, and forwarding our content to your people. Get us when you can. Mostly, we just want you here in this community of Hoosiers dedicated to making the state and its government work for all of us, not just the elite few. Please join us. Follow me on Blue Sky, Instagram, and Threads at whosleft.us, and on Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube at Who's Left. That is HOOSLEFT. Progressive Indiana Network's handle is the full spelled out name on most sites, but on Blue Sky and TikTok, it is PIN Indiana. Please help us grow with a follow wherever you're at. Tell the others. Let's build a radically democratic Indiana together. Now, let's give a warm welcome to Joseph Baughman. Joe, welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
I really appreciate you joining us here tonight. Why don't you go ahead and tell the folks a little bit about yourself?
All right. I am a product of my environment. That's what I've been told. I was born and raised around here, born in Sullivan, lived in Linton for a few years, and have recently moved to Vincennes. And I'm embedded here. I've got family, like I said, for generations that have been in the area. My family, my children are growing up and they're staying in the area. My grandchildren are now coming along. So yeah, that's who I am. Just the common man. I mean, I'm just anybody you'd want to meet.
Grandchildren, Joe. You don't look old enough to have grandchildren. So, listen. What I guess let's talk about the campaign and what made you decide to get into electoral politics. First place, we'll sort of go through this journey with you before we come to last weekend and talk about why you decided. Why did you decide to get into this?
Honestly, I decided to get into it because of how things were proceeding, both at federal and state level. Like a lot of people, I looked and I saw neighbors being taken. I see the most vulnerable being attacked on a daily basis, whether it be the homeless or those that are needing health care. And I thought something's got to be done. And honestly, I thought that something was a top down approach. So I decided it was time to run. There was an open seat, and I thought, the heck with it. Nobody else is stepping up, so I've got to do it.
And then I guess let's talk about that experience, that journey. When did you make that decision to get involved in office? Was it like last year, or was it toward the filing deadline there in January? Where you're like, well, if no one else is going to do it, it's got to be me. Tell us about that.
I'm gonna have to say honestly, I probably decided to do this. I've been thinking about it, honestly, probably for about a year or two. Um, I didn't know if it was going to be a reality or not of trying to do it, but it was definitely something that I was wanting to strive to do. And like I said, it felt like the time was right. It felt like the moment was right. So I thought, the hell with it, I'm stepping up.
Um, Walk us through the campaign experience. I guess from filing in January on through the late winter into the spring and through the primary in May.
Okay. Yeah, no problem. Basically, what you run into as a candidate are barriers. They are financial barriers, there are hurdles, stuff like just simple things that you wouldn't think of. Like for Senate, you have to file at the state house whenever you file. So here I am, I'm in Vincennes. So I have to take out time from work. I have to make a plan for the day and try to travel to Indianapolis. Of course, that's an all day thing for us.
Yes.
Um,
And
sorry,
then yeah, well, no, so then that's one day um, where your whole day is taken up going to Indianapolis doing the filing, and I don't know if um, if you're still working, if you're retired or whatnot. But if you are working, well, that's a day where you're out of work. Some folks have the luxury of paid time off. Other people don't. So,
right.
running for office just in that way is self-selecting for people with a certain level of means.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, like I said, it just basically without saying it another way is there is a certain level of people that run for a job that offers a pay of $33,000 a year where they already have money going into that to provide a way to do it. You know what I'm saying? Um, they've got either institutional money, they've got money, familial money, they've got, just the different avenues that can pour into that.
I see, I talk to a lot of candidates here, right? And I see so many folks who are juggling working full time. We've got people who are attorneys, we've got people who are teachers, we've got people who are scientists. I mean, I've the gamut out there.
Right.
Um, and juggling that and family. There's still people I talk to who have young kids out there that they're raising, and then
Right.
also, going to campaign event here, campaign event there. It's
Right.
I don't know how they do it. I work full time and do this thing, and that is time consuming. I can't even begin to comprehend how folks are doing all that.
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, if you've got especially small kids, I couldn't imagine trying to get your kids around the way a family has to run around these days, whether it to be to events or whatever. Uh, I just couldn't imagine having small kids and trying to do this. Uh, like I said, the barriers that are in there, the institutional barriers that are in there, they are in there to try to, I honestly believe, block a certain level of candidate.
It's definitely more difficult. It's certainly an uphill battle if you
Yeah.
and that's why you see, well, if you want to zoom out and look at the national level, look at Congress. It's full of a bunch of millionaires and uh, multi-millionaires. Look at the guy Jefferson Shreve in Indiana. That guy was worth pushing $1 billion now at this point. He can do that. $174,000 for a congressperson is uh, couch change to that guy.
Right.
Uh, $33,000 for an Indiana state legislator. That is certainly not a full time wage in the state. This is a part time
Right.
from January to March, April sometimes. But so yeah, you have to have something else during during the rest of the year, regardless. Um,
Right.
so yeah, it is not exactly super high paying job. It's not something to live on necessarily in and of itself. It's for a lot of folks. Oh, we got a cat bomb going. Look at that.
Oh shoot. Yeah.
Oh no, no, no! Listen, we love we love having a cat join the show.
Yeah,
So,
that's the
Joe, are
baby
you
right
hearing me?
there.
Okay, I got somebody in the comments telling me I'm cutting in and out.
I've noticed that you were cutting in and out a little bit. That's why I was making an adjustment on my side a little bit. But yeah, it's not real bad, but just a little bit.
Weird. I don't know what's going on there. Usually, we don't have a difficult time with these. So, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to ask you to hold on for just a second. I'm going to drop out of the room and I'm going to come back in. I'm going to be back in like 30 seconds.
Okay, that'll work.
All right. Well, I'm back. Hopefully that sounds better at this point. You can hear me okay, Joe?
Yeah, I can. Thank you.
All right. Very good. Thanks. I guess back to the fundraising aspect of this whole thing. I guess, when you go in and you're first planning a campaign, I've done a very small amount of the like organizing work and training on these things just to see how they are, and they give you a win number, right? Sort of like, okay, you're going to need
Right.
and also like, okay, well, you're going to have to raise this much in funds to have a realistic chance of win. Did you um, that number? Were you getting even the support from like your local party officials or your district party officials to like talk about those things, whether or not you had financial support? And for folks who don't know, the party largely does not help their candidates with money. You are
No. No, 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 no. Yeah, the Democrat Party does not assist with the candidates. It's a different institution than what I came up in back in the 80s and 90s. The state party used to help candidates. They'd help them with flyers, they'd help stuff like that. Whether it be at the local party level or at the state district level. And that's not there at all anymore. You've got, and like in our district, you might as well say you've got six separate heads of a beast. And
And you're
I'm not,
referring to the various county Democratic parties in District
yes,
39. Okay.
yes, yes. Just the different, there's no, I feel like, and I've actually told him this, so it's nothing new. I feel like that was something that the district chair should have been doing for the party, is taken, and you tell the candidate, whether it be like, hey, here's your contacts, so you can make the calls to these campaign or to these parties and stuff like that. There's not any really kind of sharing of any kind of information amongst the Democrat Party that I've noticed. Um, Now, whether I didn't ask the right questions, now that could be it. Because honestly, I mean, I'm not a politician by any means of it. Um, I mean, so it could have definitely been me and my expectations and naivety. But like I said, I felt like it was, I had to put the D stamp on my name, but at the same time, I had zero support. I was running a campaign on $687. They tell you that you need to come up with somewhere around anywhere between $30,000 and $50,000 as a Senate candidate to be taken seriously.
That sounds about right. But then, I guess, again, this is another place where it's one of those self selecting things. Okay. If you are not independently wealthy and can, chip in $30,000 to $50,000 of your own money, then you start going to your extended network, right?
Right.
Friends, family, coworkers, business contacts, what have you,
Right.
and and so again, something like this, well, you have to know if you are not wealthy, then you have to know wealthy people in
Right.
order to run for an office like this.
Right, exactly. And and I'm not trying to push the, hey, look at me, I'm a working man type thing, but honestly, that's who the hell I am. And the people that I know, they're not funding campaigns. I mean, they may be able to give $1 or $5 to a campaign, but these folks are trying to fund the food to put on their damn table. They can't fund a campaign. They can't come up, the folks in this area, whenever you got 38% of the damn population that is struggling by pay standards and can't get help. I mean, that's a serious problem. And it's
I think I saw
systemic
it. Yeah, there
across
was
everything.
a study from the United Way of Indiana came out just this past week where it said 38% of Hoosier households are struggling with basic necessities.
Yes.
And yeah, you certainly don't consider campaign contributions to be a basic necessity.
No, exactly. It's like you trim out the fat. And honestly, for people, and this is one of those things, again, it's kind of a statistic. Whenever you've got stuff that you have to trim out, of course, your subscriptions and everything like that, you drop all those first. That's the easy part. That's the painless part. You can't drop your utility bills. You can't drop the phone bill usually, because you need your phone, because everybody's interconnected. You got to have it for work. So you can't drop that. So basically, what do? You drop food. You scale back on food, and that's where these people are at. And honestly, Scott, in the last 2 days, I've had people coming up to my door and asking, "Can I please I'll mow your entire lawn. I will weed eat and everything for $10 so I can put a little bit of extra food on my table for my kids." And that is not an exaggeration. It's not hyperbole. It has happened this week. And I live in Vincennes.
And that you just get, and it's like the self reinforcing feedback loop. You know, Joe. You need a certain amount of funds or connections or independent wealth or
Right.
know people to get into office in the first place. So just by that very nature, you're kind of removed from the struggles of the average person, and then you get into
Right.
office and you go to Indianapolis and you're mingling with other uh, elites and business types and the lobbyists. They want to schmooze with you and give you this and that, and they put into place um, policies in Indianapolis that are detrimental to the average working Hoosier. You mentioned utility bills. Well, look, who are some of the biggest contributors to candidates here in Indiana? Mostly Republicans, but Democrats as well. It's the utility companies, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
And
And,
uh, no, sorry, Joe, go ahead.
no, it's just, I mean, I sorry, I kind of get off on a tangent whenever I get into this, but honestly, that's where, the utility companies, I, I'm, I'm not going to I might get lobbied by them, but I'm not going to get money from them. Honestly, I can't ethically take it. That was part of the problem with me dropping out of the campaign. I had a representative tell me, eat with them, take their money, laugh with them, and vote however you want. And I thought, he may be talking about lobbyists, but in a way, he's talking about citizens too. Take their money, vote how you want. I can't do that. I couldn't do it.
I hadn't thought of it from that angle because this is what you hear. It is certainly an uphill battle in Democratic circles. If you want to look at zoom out to the statewide races, you look at the Secretary of State's race. I know a lot of folks on the left
All right.
criticize Bo Bai for some of the big contributions he took, myself included, from folks who are big school choice advocates, who are run major private equity firms, who have financial interests before his office. And and he and his supporters and other I guess establishment Democrats would tell you, listen, who you take money from, you need money to run a campaign. You need money to win. You dine with them, like you said. You sit with them. You take their money, and then you vote your conscience. You vote how you would. It doesn't actually work that way. And we
Right.
have data to back it up. We've seen at the state and federal level that the, the wants of the populace are irrelevant to the decisions made by our legislators. The donor class gets their way all the time. And that's why folks like us look at who donors are, and we can see where these things go. We have data to back it up. Are
Right.
there folks who are gonna take that money and do the right thing? Maybe,
Yeah. Yeah.
sure, but chances are, no, they're gonna do what their donors want.
Right. Exactly. And like you said, I mean, it's a systemic issue all the way to the top, at federal level. I mean, it's just, to me personally, I just couldn't do it. And like I said, honestly, it's something that I should have thought about. I really wish it would have been one of those things that somebody would have said to me before I got into the campaign. It goes again into one of those things where, at the beginning of the year, whenever we were filling seats for state, for Senate and for House representatives and stuff like that, of course, the push was get a candidate in every seat. But, you got to have a quality candidate. And honestly, I can be kind of mouthy. I can I can step outside. I can get a little on a roll. So
Listen,
there was probably better
politics is where the
candidates.
mouthy go. Although, well, I guess there's a difference between being mouthy and being able to talk a lot, because you hear a lot of
Right,
folks, they can say a lot of words. They will go on for 25 hours in a row on the Senate floor and break records and not actually say a damn thing.
right. Yeah, that's one of my problems right there. Is I said it on Facebook the other day. I said, I think in 8K and I talk in 40p or 420p. Because because my mind works great, but my mouth just doesn't quite stay on the roll.
Or maybe it says what you're actually thinking, and you, there's not always room for that in uh, the polite, genteel political circles, especially the folks that you need to hit up for money.
Right. The corporate Democrat circles are entrenched within the party. That's like honestly it's one of the reasons they ran Bo. It was so they knew they could get him in there. They knew that they could whip a 60% vote on it because the corporate Democrats are entrenched. The liberals are entrenched in there. And they know that they can call things electability and stuff like that. And honestly, what they had was a coronation this last time. And honestly, that burned my ass a little bit too and kind of led into it.
I mean, listen, we all, no matter how much we supported one candidate or the other. I think we knew how that thing was going to go. They've been signaling it for months,
Right.
and that gets to the institutional support that we were talking about. Now,
Right.
I can't speak for you, but I know certain candidates have traveled across the state, far and wide, and at the very least, you want your various county parties to say, "Hey, we're having a meeting. Come speak at this thing."
Yeah, that'd be great.
And you'll see they will actively shun folks that they don't want to hear from, that they don't want to support. Is Joe, do you think, listen, you are an avowed democratic socialist. Do you
Yes.
think that folks in the party, at whether it at the district level or certain county parties. Look, I know some of the county chairs in your area are real champs and are doing a great job and are friendly to the cause, and they
It's
get it and they see the systemic changes that need to be made. Others I can't speak for. Did you get the cold shoulder from certain segments of the district?
most definitely. I would say it was about 50% cold shoulder. I had three that reached out that made suggestions that one of them, honestly, in Sullivan, has known me my entire life. And so she was reaching out to me and she had made some suggestions and stuff like that. And then, like I said, two other county party leaders were just awesome. I hope to be able to call them friends. What type of thing? They're awesome leaders. They're trying to get the party to go in a great progressive direction. Um, and one county is just starting out, so I don't fault it out. A whole lot. They didn't have a whole lot behind them either. So I don't know. I think they were just trying to struggle and make it along. Two others, one of them actively shunned me. Um, and one never even made an attempt to shun me. So,
And again, I hate to keep coming back to the same theme, but this is a self reinforcing system that we have here. How are you supposed to make contacts in the district if your local Democratic Party says don't come around here, or they don't tell you when they're meeting, or again, we're not asking for the moon, yet we're not asking for their money. We know they don't have any, but
Right.
we at least want to be in the room and talk to people and be able to have a neutral platform for our message to see if it resonates with the people in those areas. And you're finding a lot of places it's we don't want to hear your message. We think we know what you're going to say. We don't like what you have to say. Um, don't bring that around here. And here,
Yeah.
here's somebody more palatable instead.
Yeah. There's one individual, and like I said, I won't name anybody or anything like that, but there's one individual in one of the counties who didn't he wasn't active against me, but he definitely was not going to vocally support me. And that's something that I came up upon, I think, more than I suspected that I would, especially with the Democratic Socialist label. I put it out there early. I thought, to hell with it. That's who I am. I have been for years, and I thought anybody that knows me is going to know it. So, let's get the label out there. And that was like a double whammy. So, like I said, I had institutional fighting against me, as far as entrenched party leaders, and then you get the other. So,
Did anybody say we don't like the fact that you call yourself a socialist? We're not going to support a socialist. Shh, don't say the S word. Maybe be a socialist, but don't advertise that you're a democratic socialist. Do you get any of that?
honestly, it was more behind the scenes. It was one of the same reps. He got a hold of me and he said, "You're gonna need to tone it down. You know, you need to kind of toe the line here a little bit. You're talking too far left. Uh, we need to bring it back toward the center, because one of the things that I was advocating for is, a $19 an hour minimum wage tied to the cost of living in districts. It's something that the Economic Policy Institute actually has pushed. The MIT living wage calculator says $19 an hour, floor is a minimum for the state of Indiana, and that's honestly not even enough to really live. I mean, like in the rural areas, $19 an hour is going to get you closer, but anyway, I digress. The whole thing was, is they said, you can't be pushing policies like that.
How
That's
dare
too
you
big.
push policies that are popular with the people? And listen,
Yeah.
God, Democrats. Listen, I am a Democrat. I am a frustrated Democrat, and eh, the people in charge of these things fail so often to get it. Like, even if you don't think you can get that, you start your negotiating there. And I
Right.
think Democrats, too often, we start negotiating from the center. You've already given away half the farm before you've even set foot in the room. And and our very lack of ambition, I think, is what hurts us. You know, like, you got to tone it down. Don't say socialist. The socialist brand won't fly in rural Indiana. The Democratic brand doesn't fly in rural Indiana.
Right. Yeah, I mean, honestly, as an active democratic socialist, um I mean, my votes that I got, it might have been people that say blue no matter who, but I mean, I honestly had people that said, I've known you all your life and I can't pull the trigger for you because you're a socialist. Uh So I mean, to get the amount of votes that I did, honestly, I was excited about. Uh, and I think that's one reason I've got, the Democratic Party now asking me very nicely, can you please support us? It's the most outreach I've had since I started.
Funny, yeah. Well, let me ask about that because the primary is passed. You were
Yes.
on the ballot, um, uncontested. I assume you did not have
Yes.
a contested primary there in District 39. It's hard enough to recruit candidates in districts like that, let alone multiple candidates in districts like that. So now, with you out of the race, the party is kind of in a tough spot. We heard it was touted how we had every state senate seat up for up for grabs this year. There was somebody in it. We were leaving no races on the table. We'd be leaving a race on the table. We got till July 6th, I believe, to find somebody to take
15th,
that.
I believe.
I think you have to have the paperwork in by the 6th and finalize it by the 15th. I was checking
Okay.
before we hopped on here, but either way, we're looking at a few weeks
Right.
before we have to nail that down. Do you think do you feel bad that the party's in a bind now? Is there anybody behind you that's looking to take this thing? And if they don't find anybody, like you're still on the ballot as of right now, right? I mean, you
Yes.
said I'm not running. Have you like filed official paperwork to withdraw or anything? Or
Yes, I have. And I was telling one of the party chairs actually today. I said, it sounds cliche, but it's in the mail. I sent it to one of the folks at the Senate because they're going to actually get the stamp on it for me. I signed it, in front of a notary, how it was supposed to be done, and all that, of course. But they should be receiving it probably about in the mid this week. And then I think, honestly, I think they've got somebody in the wings. I don't know if it's a candidate that has ran before or not. We do have some excellent name recognition, definitely in our area. We've got John Gregg, we got Craig Battles, both big names in the party down in this area. And with John Gray actually being former speaker, actually from Vincennes.
yeah, yeah.
Uh, but honestly, I don't know who they've got in the wings, but I feel like they've got somebody that's ready to file the paperwork as soon as mine's stamped.
Well, because I was going to ask, if they didn't have anybody, and it sounds like the time for this discussion has passed if it's in the mail and stamped and on its way. But I was going to ask if they can't find anybody, if you were amenable to just leaving your name on the ballot, even if you're not actively campaigning, just to give folks who cannot stand having a Republican representative, Jeff Ellington, terrible, by the way. I live
Yes.
a mile from his horse farm here in Bloomington. Um, but not a great guy. Trump endorsed. Um, terrible on all of the policy points. People in the 39th need to have something, somebody to vote for other than that.
Right. I would definitely say that if they couldn't fill the spot, just to have somebody as an option to say, I'm definitely not going to vote for him, um, and have a name there to fill in, I would definitely do it. But like I said, honestly, I really feel like they've got somebody. The eighth district chair kind of hinted that he had a bombshell candidate was the terminology that he used. So we'll see. And if he does, that's great. Whoever's taking my spot, I will support. If they need leg work done, I will do it. I mean, I'm
Uh,
not gonna take my ball and go home.
I wonder if they had this bombshell candidate waiting in the wings. Where was this person, the filing deadline in January or during
Right.
the primary season?
Right. Yeah, because honestly, I filed a week before filing date was done, and I mean nobody. And honestly, one of my speeches, I said, "Hey, competition is great if anybody else wants to run." So
It's very much, please don't make me do this. I don't want to have to do this.
yeah,
You
it,
hear
it
that a
really
lot.
was.
Folks are just like, they're so tired of the way things are in their area. Indiana has been run so poorly for so long with this Republican supermajority, and Democrats statewide have not always put up a great fight. Now, said this year, the candidate recruitment has been largely pretty good. I don't know how much of
Yeah,
that is on the party and how much is on um, independent organizations like Indiana Rural Summit, who are doing a fantastic job out there
I can't
helping
say
rural
enough.
candidates.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you out there, Scott, but I cannot say enough about Indiana Rural Summit and the information that is handed out to candidates to help them. Uh, Honestly, that was whenever I got put in touch with Indiana Rural Summit. That was a lot made a lot bigger difference in where I was at of having nothing. I mean, they're phenomenal.
They really are. Michelle and the whole crew over there are doing fantastic work, and I also just can't say enough about them. But I guess, Joe, you hinted at it a little bit, and sort of the way your integrity and your faith prevented you from going into these spaces and sitting and taking money from folks with whom you don't align. It's sort of dishonest in and of itself. Um, how does your faith shape the way you look at politics, and how does your faith inform your socialism?
Honestly, my faith informs my socialism, and my socialism informs my faith. They go hand in hand, honestly. And the reason I say that is because my faith says help the migrant, help the widow, help the poor. Not only help them, give them ways to better themselves, help lift them up. You know, help lift up your fellow man. Socialism says the exact same thing. It says, hey, no man is better than any other. Every man's worth is due. Uh, and like I said, they really just kind of inform each other. They hold each other in hand. One of the things that I had a hard time getting people to understand it around here too. Is I was not a Marxist as far as you think of the Red Scare, the army dancing through Moscow, type thing. That wasn't me. That's not me. I'm a Midwest Prairie socialist. In the name of Eugene Debs, if you will, in our area. In the name of people like Dorothy Day and the Catholic worker movement, stuff like that. That's what kind of informs my faith and my socialism.
Yeah, that Jesus guy talking about taking care of the least of these, and the wealthy, the rich man having a harder time getting into heaven than the camel passing through the eye of the needle.
Right.
I see. Remove all the cultural and historical context from it. You hear a guy talking like that. He sounds like a socialist. How do folks like Micah Beckwith and these Christian nationalists get to what they call Christianity from that? Like, I don't see how that connection even gets made.
I honestly don't even they're it bothers me honestly that they even call it a form of Christianity. It's really not even a form of Christianity. It was the same kind of nationalism that people like fascists taught, uh, you know, in the 30s. It's that same kind of mindset of we're better than somebody else, and the greatest will win. And that is completely the antithesis of what was taught by Christ, in any sermon and any speech that he gave. It was always the least of these are the greatest.
You don't hear the Christian nationalists quote from the Gospels a whole lot.
No.
It's always Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, and Revelations. Like
Right.
they read the beginning, got bored, skipped to the end.
Right. I honestly know a lot of how these folks work and operate. Just being formerly in the church, how I was years ago, about 20 years ago, I was a lay minister and stuff like that in the United Methodist Church. And we worked in ecumenical circles and stuff. So I got to meet a lot of folks through other channels, other Christian denominations. And honestly, you come to find out that a there's a lot of them that have never actually read the book. There's a lot of them that they rely solely on what they are told every Sunday. And if that person in front of them is not a person who has good intentions, that message isn't going to have good intentions. And they have no way to block that out because it's already feeding into their bias. It's that bias feedback loop, and the more they hear it and the more they believe it, it keeps building and building and building. So I mean, honestly, you get people that they've had their feedback filter so full of BS that to step out of it destroys the reality.
It's like for a lot of American Christians, it has become a branding exercise. It is
Yes.
a name brand. It is something you call yourself. It is an identity marker. It is not something that you do. It is certainly not living the way that Jesus spoke of.
Right. It's not actually denying self and following Christ. And I don't mean to turn your show into a theology network or anything like that. But one of the bad things is during the digital era, and then we had it back in the 30s and 40s too. Anybody could pick up a Bible and go door to door and tell you what the good book says and what the message was, and it was up to you to believe them. Back in those days, a lot more people sat down and read it. uh Today you just don't get that, and so it leads to charlatans who end up with certificates on the internet, unfortunately.
Yes, yes. The Hillsdale College correspondence course. Yes.
Oh my lord, I hate getting those emails.
So, I guess let me ask this. Is there a place for rural Christian socialists in our state? I think, uh, and, listen. I am a secular Democrat, so don't get me wrong. I'm not coming from a place of faith when I ask this, but I see that a lot of my neighbors are, a lot of folks in Indiana are, and I respect that. I appreciate that. And I also am a student of the world religion, so I take
Right.
the words, and I understand. I think what we talk about better than a lot of folks who call themselves Christians. But um, the Democratic Party has largely um, retreated from religion and using religious language. Now you have folks out there. You got Senator Warnock, obviously, is a pastor, and folks like Pete Buttigieg speaks Christian pretty
Right.
well. I always
James Tallarico.
Rico, obviously, total choir boy. Andy Bashir down in Kentucky does this pretty well, and these aren't always folks who I necessarily agree with on all of our policy issues. Like not exactly a raging socialist, Andy Bashir, but
Right.
using the the language of the Gospels of Christianity to reach maybe audiences that the Democratic Party has largely abandoned in states like.
Yeah, definitely. The party has adopted. Honestly, I'm not sure what the party has adopted as far as when it comes to the rural messaging. I don't feel like they really have a good rural messaging. They're allowing somebody else to co-opt the messaging to a people that they should easily have the vote of. It just the Democrat Party was always the working man's party. Uh,
Was.
so
Yeah.
I mean, it just honestly, and I could go into and you probably know it too. The history and stuff like that of what's kind of turned some of the Christians against the Democrat Party, but like I said, the Democrat Party itself's not helped it.
And I don't know what it is. I mean, Democrats used to be strong in rural Indiana or in rural
Yeah,
areas. You said that they were, the party of the working man, and that was true. The Democratic Party was the rural party for more than a century there, and still had a strong rural game later than a lot of people think. I mean, the
yeah.
Democrats had a lot of rural seats, even in the South, through the '90s into the early 2000s. Is it all the racism? Was it the election of Obama and the backlash to that?
Um, I don't know if it was the election of Obama and the backlash. I think that's the loudest part, but I think that's a minority part. Because honestly, Indiana went for Obama, and there was an excitement in the air, even in rural Indiana, for Obama that you didn't see for other candidates. Um, so I honestly I don't think it's him. Somewhere along the line, somewhere along the line, both parties honestly stopped talking to the working man and stop talking their language. And somehow the Republican Party and Trumpism has picked up that mantle and spoken their language in such a way to captivate them.
Yeah. So much to a lot of rebuilding to do. I want to tie it back to the state level. Like, I'm thinking about it because this Indy Star James Briggs article today about go by,
I
and the
didn't
whole
read that, but I
concept
saw it.
the whole concept is, oh well, if we win at the top, then that will build that will lift up the other parties. It's like, you got it backwards. It's got to come from the bottom
It's got to be
up,
bottom up.
and the Democrats, I think, lost that plot. It wasn't Obama personally, but it was during the Obama era. We sort of decided that we were going to focus on the top of the ticket and hope that was going to pull everybody else, and sort of left the bottom of the party hollow.
Yeah, it honestly it did. I mean, it really surprised me the lack of level of support at the state level. I mean, it just like I said, the apparatus just absolutely just didn't seem like it was there. Um, Now, I'm not going to sit here and rag on the top people of the Democrat Party, though. At the same time, because I did meet a few people along the way that they've got it together. They've got. I have to say, Teresa, she is awesome. I mean, she's a bottom to the top type person. She gets out there on the street and she pounds the pavement. They need to listen to more like to people like her.
Yeah. So, now, Joe, I know you're done with this particular race, but I doubt you're done serving your community. What is next for you in that space?
Honestly, right now I'm just looking at what my options are, as far as the biggest need. Like I said, I've had two people come up to my door and need help. So whether it looks like taking an active role in, working with Saint Francis Xavier Parish down here, and getting these folks the help that they need, or if it looks like a different method, I don't know. We'll see.
Well, um, regardless of what you do, Joe, Vincennes and Knox County are lucky to have folks like you down there,
Thank you.
helping their neighbors, doing the thing. Be it in political office or just helping your neighbor next door.
Yeah, that's the one thing I have to say on a closing statement on anything is, help somebody today.
Very good. Well, thank you so much, Joe. I'm gonna go ahead and send you backstage. I will say goodbye to you after I say goodbye to the other folks. So stick around. I'll see you in like 2 minutes. But for right now, folks, viewers, listeners, Joe Baughman, thank you for joining me tonight on the Who's Left podcast.
Thanks, Scott.
All right. So thanks so much to Joe for that, for sharing his story, and thank you all for joining us. I will be back Sunday morning at 10:30 a.m. for Who's Left This Week, Indiana's only unapologetically progressive Sunday morning politics show. Tune in on YouTube, Facebook Live, and of course at progressiveindiana.net. One of our returning favorites, Hancock County Dems Vice Chair Chuck Gill, will join us. I am still looking for a lady to fill out the panel. Maybe that is you or somebody you know. Email me at scott@whosleft.us. We'll discuss the week's top Indiana stories, plus U.S. and international news from a Hoosier perspective. Brew up a big pot of coffee and join us if you will, please. So, until then, plenty of other good stuff on Progressive Indiana Network this week, and we couldn't do any of it without your support. So please consider contributing to Who's Left and the wider network with a paid subscription if you are able. This independent media project relies solely on the generosity of kind patrons like you to do what we do. There we go. Let me put our information up on the screen. Hey, there we go. Again, that is at progressiveindiana.net. We could also really use a follow on social media at Progressive Indiana Network on Facebook, Instagram, and Threads. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel at the same handle over on Blue Sky and TikTok. You can find us at PIN Indiana, and you can find me at Who's Left.us on Blue Sky, Instagram, and Threads, at Who's Left on all the rest. Direct message me at any of those sites with feedback, tips, ideas, and concerns, or email me. Again, the address was scott at whosleft.us. Finally, please forward the show to a friend and have them pass it on too. Let's keep building this project and a truly democratic state, one conversation at a time. Until the next one, this has been the Who's Left podcast. I'm Scott Aaron Rogers. Love each other, Indiana.